If you've ever found yourself exhausted, confused, and desperate to soothe a baby who just won't stop crying, you're not alone, and you're not doing anything wrong. The real issue might be that babies simply aren't ready for the world when they're born. This is a summary of The Happiest Baby on the Block by Harvey Karp, an independent summary created for educational purposes. If this summary resonates with you, I encourage you to purchase the full book and explore it in greater depth. Dr. Harvey Karp reframes the experience of newborn parenting through a bold but convincing claim: babies are born 3 months too early. This explains why they're often inconsolable and why conventional advice about calming them frequently fails. The book offers a science-backed, practical method for soothing babies by mimicking the womb environment, combining ancient cultural wisdom with modern developmental insights. It's not about discipline, independence, or spoiling. It's about survival, yours and your baby's. The book begins by challenging the mainstream medical understanding of infant crying. For decades, the dominant theory behind colic and crying was gas or indigestion. Yet none of the standard treatments, gas drops, diet changes, or even sedatives, consistently worked. Karp realized the problem wasn't inside the stomach, but in how we misunderstood a baby's developmental timeline. Drawing from both his clinical experience and research on parenting across different cultures, he concluded that our babies cry because they're still transitioning to life outside the womb. What they need is not independence but womb-like care, a so-called fourth trimester. In tribal societies, where babies are carried constantly, swaddled tightly, and surrounded by constant noise and motion, colic is almost non-existent. These babies are rarely left alone, and the sensory input they receive closely mimics their prenatal environment. Contrast that with Western parenting, where babies are often placed alone in quiet rooms and told to self-soothe from day one, a setup that would be completely alien and stressful for a newborn. Karp's insight is that fussy babies aren't broken or manipulative. They're just confused and overwhelmed. The womb was loud, warm, snug, and in constant motion.
The outside world is cold, quiet, and still. No wonder babies protest.
To bridge this gap, Karp introduces the concept of the calming reflex, a powerful neurological mechanism triggered by specific sensory inputs. This reflex, like the knee-jerk response, only works when stimulated properly. The key is mimicking womb sensations through what Karp calls the 5 S's: swaddling, side/stomach positioning, shushing, swinging, and sucking. These aren't random tricks, they're deliberate, strategic ways to replicate the sensory environment of the uterus and activate the calming reflex. Each S plays a specific role. Swaddling wraps the baby tightly, preventing them from flailing and triggering more distress. Positioning them on their side or stomach, only while supervised, not during sleep, helps recreate the fetal posture and calms the startle reflex. Shushing mimics the white noise of the womb, which was louder than a vacuum cleaner. Swinging replaces the jiggly movement babies felt with every step their mother took. And sucking, whether on a finger, breast, or dummy, provides the final layer of soothing comfort. While each S can work individually, Karp stresses that they're most powerful when used together, a technique he calls the cuddle cure. Think of it like baking a cake. Swaddling is the base, side positioning and shushing add layers, swinging brings rhythm, and sucking is the icing on top. This combination works because it overwhelms the baby's distress signals with comfort cues. Even the most inconsolable infants often calm within minutes when the cuddle cure is used correctly. What makes this approach so radical is how countercultural it is. Many new parents are told not to hold their baby too much, not to use pacifiers, or to avoid rocking them to sleep. They worry they'll spoil their child or create bad habits. Karp pushes back hard against these myths. During the first 3 months, he argues, it's literally impossible to spoil a baby. They don't cry to manipulate. They cry because they don't yet know how to regulate themselves, and responding consistently helps them build trust, not dependency. The book also dismantles common misconceptions about colic. Karp argues that most crying isn't due to pain or temperament, but rather to sensory overload and an underdeveloped nervous system. He critiques outdated theories, including maternal anxiety, diet, and even digestive issues like reflux, showing that none can fully explain the pattern or timing of colic. What does match the data is the idea that newborns are simply overwhelmed and need help transitioning into the world. Through stories of real parents, Karp illustrates how the 5 S's can turn chaos into calm. One mother, convinced her baby had been damaged during a rough delivery, discovered that nothing was physically wrong. Her son just hadn't adjusted to life outside the womb. After learning the cuddle cure, she was able to calm him within minutes, ending weeks of stress and self-doubt. Ultimately, Karp's message is hopeful. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to train your baby. You just need to meet them where they are, in the gap between womb and world, and guide them through it with love, rhythm, and a bit of technique. The beauty of Karp's method lies not just in its simplicity, but in its practicality. Once parents understand that their baby is not misbehaving, but rather struggling to adapt to life outside the womb, the crying becomes far less mysterious. Instead of randomly trying different remedies or falling into helpless frustration, they have a clear, structured set of actions they can take. And those actions, when done properly, almost always work. That done properly part, however, is where many new parents stumble. Karp is quick to point out that using the 5 S's half-heartedly or incorrectly often leads to failure. Not because the method is flawed, but because the reflex is like a light switch. If you do not flip it fully, the lights just do not come on. For example, swaddling only works when it is tight and secure, limiting the baby's ability to flail their arms. Loose wrapping, or leaving the arms free, won't calm the baby and might even make them more upset. The same goes for shushing. A gentle shhh might feel natural to an adult, but it does nothing for a baby used to hearing the thundering whoosh of blood flow in the womb. For it to work, the shushing must be loud, almost as loud as a hairdryer, to register in the baby's nervous system as familiar and calming. Swinging, too, requires the right touch. Slow, gentle rocking may be soothing for a toddler, but a newborn responds to quick, small jiggles. Not big arcs, but rhythmic, repetitive motions similar to what they experienced inside the womb as their mother walked or moved. Finally, sucking is most effective once the baby has already been calmed by the other S's. If you offer a dummy too early, they may be too upset to take it. If you wait until they are calmer, it reinforces the relaxation and helps keep them settled longer. Karp's explanations are detailed but grounded in common sense. Once you see the world through a newborn's eyes, or more accurately, through their nervous system, it becomes clear why mimicking the womb is so effective. The transition from that warm, noisy, jiggly, enclosed space to the open, quiet, and still world outside is abrupt and jarring. Most of us assume a newborn should be able to handle it, but biology disagrees. Their nervous system is not equipped to manage that kind of sensory change. That is why the 5 S's are not just comforting, they are biologically attuned to what newborns expect and crave. Interestingly, not all babies need the full package. Some are more easygoing and can be soothed with just 1 or 2 of the S's. But for babies who are highly sensitive or colicky, all 5 are often required, especially in the early weeks. Karp urges parents not to give up too quickly. It may take a few tries to find the right rhythm, volume, or combination, but once you get it right, the results can feel almost magical. Beyond calming, these techniques also have another major benefit: they promote better sleep. Many parents think their baby has a sleep problem, when in fact the issue is overstimulation or discomfort. A baby who feels safe, snug, and soothed will naturally sleep more soundly. Karp even suggests using the 5 S's proactively at bedtime to extend sleep stretches, especially at night. This is not just for the baby's sake, but for the parents as well. Chronic sleep deprivation is a real risk factor for postpartum depression, strained relationships, and even accidental harm due to fatigue. Helping a baby sleep better helps the whole family function more smoothly. Throughout the book, Karp takes care to reassure parents that they are not failing if their baby cries a lot. It is not a reflection of their love or ability. In fact, he believes parents of colicky babies are some of the most heroic. they continue to show up, day after day, exhausted and confused, yet determined to comfort their child. The problem is not that they are doing too little, but that they have not been shown what actually works. The moment they learn about the fourth trimester and how to trigger the calming reflex, everything starts to make more sense. Another key point Karp drives home is that you cannot spoil a newborn. In the first 3 months of life, a baby's brain is still too primitive to develop manipulative behaviour. Responding to their cries does not teach them to cry more. It teaches them that the world is safe and that their needs will be met. That foundation of trust, laid in the early months, can make a significant difference in how secure and emotionally resilient a child becomes later on. He also touches on the emotional toll crying can take. Babies' cries are biologically designed to trigger urgency in adults. The sound can elevate your heart rate, spike stress hormones, and even bring up old insecurities or guilt. This is not just psychological, it is neurological. Parents may feel broken down by the relentlessness of it, especially if they are unsupported or receiving mixed messages about what is right. Karp's advice provides not only a method for calming the baby, but also a way to restore parental confidence and peace of mind. When parents feel empowered, babies tend to thrive. Karp's methods also stand in contrast to the harsher school of parenting advice that tells parents to let their babies cry it out. He does not condemn those who try this out of desperation, but he makes it clear that there is a better way. Soothing a baby with the 5 S's is not about avoiding discomfort at all costs. It is about recognizing that babies do not yet have the tools to regulate themselves and need help to feel safe. Giving them that help is not weakness. It is smart, responsive parenting. While much of the book focuses on calming crying, Karp also dives into why babies cry in the first place, and how we often misinterpret it. Crying is a reflex, not a strategy. In the first few months, babies are not trying to get attention or manipulate anyone. They are simply reacting to discomfort, disorientation, or sensory overload. Trying to figure out what a cry means, whether it's hunger, boredom, or pain, can feel like a guessing game. And it often is. Research shows that even experienced parents and professionals struggle to correctly identify the cause of a baby's cry by sound alone. That is why Karp urges parents to focus less on decoding and more on comforting. The goal is not to get it perfectly right every time. It is to offer consistent, calming responses that help babies feel secure and supported. He also addresses a common source of guilt and worry for parents: the idea that they are doing something wrong if their baby cries too much. This belief can spiral into shame, isolation, and exhaustion. But once parents understand that their baby is likely crying due to the underdeveloped state of their nervous system, not because of bad parenting, it changes everything. Instead of blaming themselves, they can focus on what works. Karp encourages parents to build muscle memory with the 5 S's, just like learning to tie a shoelace or ride a bike. With practice, it becomes second nature, and that confidence can make all the difference during high-stress moments. Importantly, the book does not dismiss medical concerns. Karp lays out red flags that require a doctor's attention, such as persistent vomiting, fever, or unusual lethargy. But in the absence of medical issues, he's clear that most persistent crying can be eased with the techniques he teaches. He also shares that fussy babies are often healthy between crying bouts, further reinforcing that what they need is regulation, not treatment. The book concludes with supportive advice for exhausted parents. Karp reminds readers that soothing a baby is a learned skill, one that improves with time and patience. He also notes that this challenging period is temporary. Most babies grow out of their fussiness by 3 to 4 months, once their brains catch up and they can better self-soothe. Until then, the 5 S's offer a bridge, a way to meet babies where they are developmentally, rather than expecting them to behave like older children. In the final chapters, Karp explores some complementary techniques that can enhance the 5 S's. These include infant massage, adjusting feeding routines, and ensuring parents get enough support and rest themselves. While not every trick works for every baby, layering multiple strategies often helps. But at its core, The book sticks to its central insight: babies need a fourth trimester. And by recreating the womb environment through rhythm, touch, sound, and closeness, parents can transform not only their baby's well-being, but also their own. What makes The Happiest Baby on the Block so useful is not just the information, but the tone. Karp is not judgmental. He does not lecture or shame. He knows what it feels like to be overwhelmed by a screaming infant and still keep showing up. His advice lands because it is grounded in science, tested in practice, and delivered with empathy. Whether you are a first-time parent or already have a few kids, this book offers tools you can actually use, not just theories to think about. Here are 5 practical takeaways from the book. 1. Your baby is not misbehaving, they are just underdeveloped. Think of the first 3 months as a fourth trimester, where your main job is to help them feel as safe and calm as they did in the womb. 2. The calming reflex is a biological switch that can stop crying quickly, but only when triggered correctly. The 5 S's, swaddling, side/stomach position, shushing, swinging, and sucking, are your tools to activate it. 3. The 5 S's work best when used together. This cuddle cure is most effective when you layer each S with intention, not casually or halfway. 4. You cannot spoil a newborn. Holding them, responding to cries, and offering comfort builds trust and emotional security, not bad habits. 5.
Mastering These Technikves Tages Praktise.
Be patient with yourself. Within a few tries, you'll begin to see results, and your confidence will grow along with your baby's calmness. You've listened to a summary of The Happiest Baby on the Block by Harvey Karp, created independently for educational purposes. If it resonated with you, consider buying the full book to explore it in greater detail. If you made it this far, well done. You're already the kind of parent who shows up and learns for the sake of your child. That matters more than you know. Try picking one of the 5 S's today and practice it intentionally, even if your baby is already calm. The more comfortable you are now, the more confident you'll be when you need it most.